Some of his associates are still on a strangle them. Individuals need to see that piece of him that no other person knew. Perhaps I would strangle him because, some of the. It looks like Voletta Wallace, the mother of the late rapper Notorious B.I.G. doesn't beat around the bush. Furthermore, in her past meeting with the Breakfast Club, this woman sent a shocking message to the supposed offender behind her son's troublesome demise. As Voletta Wallace stated, it doesn't take to be an investigator to sort out that her son's boss, Diddy, is the one to fault in the entire mystery. What's more, she has some serious evidence to show. Indeed, it's been almost 3 decades since the unfortunate occurrence took one of the hip bounce legends from us. In any case, many individuals still can't acknowledge the way that Biggie Smalls is no longer with us. As you most likely are aware, despite the extensive investigation, the genuine bad guy was rarely found. Yet, it seems like Biggie's mom has something to share with the world. There are individuals who are saying, gracious, she knew. In her previous talk with the Breakfast Club, Voletta Wallace shared her vision on what had befallen her son and why he's currently long gone subsequent to associating every one of the dots. This woman is currently saying that none of the other Biggie's maker, Sean Diddy Combs, took advantage of her son for his own advantage. Prior in the past, the hip jump symbol mother previously shared her thoughts overall story in a seriously controversial journal. As she composed, I'm happy my son does not need to witness that the very individuals that he figured he could ride and be with wouldn't mull over using his mom. I'm happy that he hasn't arrived to see how they have used his picture and his name. As Voletta Wallace is presently saying, seeing the music head honcho celebrating and bringing in cash on her son's name and heritage cause her awful aggravation. Also, in the event that she could do the justice with her own hands, she would punish Diddy for his crimes, including the abuse and shooting of her son. Once more, be that as it may, I can't speak about me. Consider the possibility that he was here. Perhaps I would strangle him. Voletta has always been suspecting Diddy in this wrongdoing because he was the main person who, in the end, made millions on her son's awkward demise. In her diary, she referenced that Biggie was too faithful to even consider puffing to suspect any treachery. Truly, Christopher acknowledged the illusion of a companion and guide for about $25,000. That is the sum Puffy tricked my son with. It was sufficient cash to cause my son to accept that Puffy was prepared to do anything for him. Guys, not a secret, Biggie's success and distinction presented to him a significant measure of cash when he was alive, and he was estimated to have a total assets of around $10 million at the hour of his grievous demise. Presently, Voletta Wallace is saying that Diddy paid off many individuals and entities to hush the entire thing. Also, this is the reason we never found the solution. The primary question behind this misfortune. And keeping in mind that the police do absolutely nothing, the guilty party behind gunning down her son's thriving years is still running the streets of the hip jump industry. You know nothing about it. As any mother, Voletta has a strong instinct, and as she says, she has always been against the so-called friendship of her son with Diddy. As she wrote in her diary, she never trusted the music maker and attempted to persuade her son to leave awful kid records for the good of his own. This is her message. I accept she cherished my son after he passed away. I used to let Christopher know constantly not to trust Saint. Notwithstanding, Biggie's dependability to Puff was excessively strong, and we see how everything worked out for the now demised rap legend. As Voletta Wallace is saying, she can't acknowledge the way that Diddy keeps partaking in his extravagant lifestyle when he deserves to decay in prison for his hideous wrongdoing. Should I embrace it? I personally can't. In the past 2 decades, Voletta spent a ton of time and cash to dig to the roots of this mystery that ended the existence of her son. What's more, eventually, she comes back to the same answer as before: Diddy is at fault for her son's shocking demise. Biggie's mom can't trust Diddy's boldness. He's been assuming his part of a lamenting companion for quite a long time and at the same time paying the slap to covering all the exposing traces that could attach him to this case. As Voletta said, I have a generally excellent thought who examined Christopher, and I truly accept that the lab knows precisely who did, as well. After almost 3 decades of sitting tight for the answer, 70 years old, Voletta feels she doesn't have a lot of time left and she deserves her closure. Trust that names will be called and what they did. Her biggest dream at the moment is to see Diddy going down for taking out her son, and fans completely support the woman in her desire to see the bad guy behind the bars. As one person remarked, envision the combos among Huge and his moms away from plain view about what Large knows and feels to his mom about everything going on. What's more, another user added, Diddy sold his soul. I got to concede, however, he was the best at being a snake. That is the reason he's always the last man standing, and it as of now looks like a solved mystery. The story doesn't end here, guys. There have been a lot more individuals who approached with the same conclusions as Biggie's mom, and they transparently spoke about Diddy's contribution in this wrongdoing since he was the person who insisted that Biggie should go to LA that game-changing evening. In any case, he was easily discussed of it by Sean so that they can show up at an occasion in LA that Saturday night. A piece of the posturing. In his new meeting with the Specialty of Discourse, the previous Terrible Kid Records president Kirk Burroughs affirmed what Voletta Wallace had been suspecting from the beginning and uncovered that Biggie stopped trusting his boss. What's more, got suspicious. Nonetheless, it was past the point of no return for the rapper and he didn't get an opportunity to leave Terrible Kid Records and Diddy safely. As Kirk said, the entire occurrence was meticulously orchestrated by Diddy to make Biggie leave the mark the main possible way in a plastic pack. The spending plan for LA finished, and there was an incredible requirement for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security. This story was subsequently affirmed by someone else who was there with Biggie that game-changing evening, Diddy's ex-guardian who has been alongside the music head honcho in the toughest moments of his life, also expressed his concerns about the absence of security. Before we left Andre Harrell's house, Puff let me know I didn't need to go. Presently I went because I realized that somebody planned to pass away that evening. Somebody planned to have chance. Indeed, in the event that you don't recall it, guys, let me advise you that the heartbreaking occurrence that ended Biggie's life happened squarely in the hottest moment of the blending fight between the West Coast and East Coast. Furthermore, Biggie set his foot on adversary's property that evening in LA. Presently the answer why Puffy insisted on the absence of security seems sort of coherent. I'd never seen him behave like this ever, because he don't carry on that way. Yet, here's one thing that makes us accept that Biggie's deadly shooting was the result of Diddy's brutal arrangement. As indicated by Quality Arrangement, the late rapper was intensely considering leaving Terrible Kid Records because he was offered a more ideal arrangement. Weeks before his grievous demise, Biggie was offered a more rewarding arrangement with one more name worth more than $60 million. As Gene Dale said, he got a glimpse of Biggie's Terrible Kid agreement, and it was nothing contrasted with another deal. Presently, in the event that Voletta Wallace chooses to push this case further, she has an entire bundle of witnesses to testify against the music magnate. I couldn't say whether I must be in court or needed to testify or something to that effect.